Today. I didn't really prepare a whole lot. I figured most people would want to be outside on our real first nice day of the year. So hopefully we'll get done in, I don't know, 45 minutes or so. So before we get started, any questions you want to talk about, anything you want to discuss on the assignments, anything that didn't make sense when you were looking at it initially? Nope. Okay then. So, like I said, don't really have any more content to cover that we need to cover in 150. So, for the next 2 weeks, I kind of just hope to do some miscellaneous stuff, show you some interesting things that are kind of cool. You might find interesting again. So today we're going to work on something called picobot, or I think it's picobot. That's how I've pronounced it. Picobot. So what picobot is you'll navigate over here. So in your web browser, you'll say dev.dsunix.net/picobot. And when you do that, it will bring up this little page. So essentially what picobot is a little introduction to state machines. So what we can do with picobot is program the rules over here on the right side, and then this little green dot will follow those rules. So looking at these rules, we don't really need to know what they are, but basically what it will do is it will parse these rules. I'll talk about more what they do in a bit here, and then when you push go down here, picobot will take those actions and it will move around the screen. So let's take a look here at what these actions are doing. So you can see at the top of the screen there's this how to play link. If you open that one up, you can see there's the very detailed instructions about how all of the rules are parsed for picobot here. So I'll just go through and I'll explain essentially what's going on here. So for all of our rules, each rule has a state. So the first number is the state. So in that state, we start out in state 0, and then the last thing is what state we want to go to. So the first thing is what state we're in currently, and then at the end, once we've matched a rule here, we will change to this state. So let's look at these rules. So essentially, what we're going to check for is these positions indicate whether or not there is a wall or if there isn't a wall. So let's say we specified something like this. I'll just delete all of this and we'll start over again here. So again, we're starting out in state 0. Let's check and see if there's anything to the north of us. So if there is a wall to the north of us, we'll say N and then 3 stars. So we're going to check to see if there's a wall to the north, and then we're going to ignore everything else. That's what the stars are doing. We're ignoring every other side. So once we've matched a rule, so let's say there is a wall to the north of us, what we would do is we specify which direction we want to move. So if there's a wall to the north, let's move to the south. And then we specify which state we want to switch to. So we're going to switch to state 0. So a better rule is, let's still in state 0, so we'll match the first one that matches, or we'll run the first one that matches, I should say. And if you want to check that there isn't a wall, you could put X. So X will check to see if there isn't a wall. So if I put N, it would check to see if there is a wall, and if I put an X, it would check to see if there isn't a wall. So stars to ignore every other position. And then what we're going to do is, if there is not a wall to the north, this rule will be read as, we're going to move north and stay in state 0. So now that I've entered those rules, I'd say enter rules here, and then I'd press go. And this should, I believe, do the exact same thing as before. For state 1 and surrounding XXX. Did I not enter my rules right? State 1. I'll just refresh the page and reset it here. there we go, that's interesting. So again, what the first rule right here is doing is to check and see if there is not a wall to the north, and if there isn't a wall to the north, we're going to move north. Otherwise, if there is a wall to the north, we're going to move south. So what happened here, the difference between this one and the original one, is you can step through it here, and you can see what rule you're looking at right now and what rule you will go to next. So right now, your surroundings are x, 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 x right here. So when I step 1, it will now match this n right here. So that n right there will match this right here, and it will match this entire rule. So next time we step, we are going to go south 1 position and stay in state 0. So step again. Now our surroundings are this again, so we're going to match this rule again. And then step again, and back and forth by 1 block. All right. So the way the original one works, let's go through this one by one. So the rules are exactly the same, except it has an additional state to continue going south as far as possible. So it's worth noting that in this language, our lines with comments start with a pound sign. So you'd say pound sign, then whatever your comment is, and those will be ignored by the language. So what's going to happen here, let's just go through this and go state by state. So we're just going to step, all the way up. We can see we're still in this first rule. We're still matching this right here because there's nothing north of us. So we're going to match this and then move north 1 position and continue being in state 0. So continue doing that all the way until we hit the top. So when we hit the top, our surroundings will say n, will match this n right here, will not move anywhere. So when we say x, it means we don't move. So we can either move north, east, south, or west, or x for no move. And then what we'll do is switch to state 1. So the difference between state 0 and state 1 is 0 is going to move as far north as possible, and 1 is going to move as far south as possible. So now that we're entering state 1, we step again. You can see now we're in state 1, so we're going to look at our surroundings. We're going to match this rule right here, because that x is matched in the position right there, so that x is right there. Again, the stars mean we're going to ignore every other position, so ignore that, ignore that, ignore that. We're only going to match that one x right there. And then, since we match this rule, we're going to move south, so move south, and then switch to state 1. And we're going to continue doing that rule. So same rule is continuing to match and as long as we get to the bottom. And then we see we have that S there. It's going to match this S right here. Switch to state 0, no move. So step 1 more time. We can see our state goes to 0. We're going to now look at these rules again. And we're going to match this first one since there is nothing to the north. So that's the very basics of the language. Again, take a look at this document more to understand exactly what's going on. It's probably better at explaining it than I have been. But essentially the objective for today is what I want you to do is write picobot rules which will make the bot cover the entire square. So basically you need to make all of this gray. So right now it's just moving up and down, up and down. But what I want you to do is write the rules so it will fill the entire square. All right, so that's all I have, and just work on that today. So any questions about the language or anything like that, just call me over. Otherwise, when you're done, submit a screenshot of the filled square to D2L. There should be a Dropbox open, if I'm correct. All right, that's what we're doing.